Good morning, afternoon, midday, whatever time it is for you. I hope you're doing well, Sea Dogs. I want to take a minute to kind of go over what we're doing in class today, what we did yesterday, and what's coming up this week. So very quickly, yesterday everyone should have turned in their geography stations. Yesterday we did geography notes. Everything is here. This is the item you should have submitted on Canvas in assignments yesterday. You just put the link in. Today we're going to do Athens versus Sparta, and tomorrow we're going to take a quiz. Remember, it is Web Wednesday tomorrow, so we're going to be going really, really quickly. I will take attendance, you will take your quiz, and that is what we will do for social studies. You will have asynchronous time to take it. On to what we're doing today. Athens and Sparta. We have talked about them a great deal through vocabulary and geography. Today, I want us to actually think. I want us to have a question in our mind. Where would you have wanted to live? Where would you want to be? Would you have wanted to have been an Athenian, or would you have wanted to be a Spartan? Now look, I know a lot of us might have already answered that question out loud, but I want us to take a second and think that there's different ways and there's different criteria for us to really pick where we would want to go. So everybody, when these links are live, you'll click the slideshow, and that looks like this, and then you're going to click Athens versus Sparta, and it's going to ask you to make a copy. So this is my copy, and as always, I like to change the names, but I can't do that because of the screen recorder, but I changed my name to Mr. O'Neill's copy. Now, today, you will use the slideshow that I gave you and a personal opinion to create a battle for the ages. You must choose a winner for each category and tell us why you chose one city-state over the other. Each response must reference 2 pieces of info from the notes and talk about both sides. This is a battle for the ages, so let's go. So what we're going to do is, let's do women's rights, because that's the one that I love the most. So I'm going to take you through the PowerPoint a little bit, and we kind of talk about geography. I kind of go over some of the different, what a polis is, some of the different types of government, and I kind of talk about Athens. This is where I talk about culture of Athens, and basically Solon was a man that made up a law that said all free citizens are allowed to vote, no matter how poor. So in Athens, when males turned 18, they took a pledge to defend Athens, and they took a pledge to defend the gods. So males did train and serve in the military, but after the military, there was life. They became members of government, they became business owners, they started families. So you went in the military when you were 18, probably for 4 to 5 years, then you came out and had some sort of a job. Athenian democracy was just for males. Women, slaves, enslaved people could not vote, and others that were not born in Athens had no political or legal rights. So as a result, Athens was ruled by a minority, not a majority of people. Boys went to school and studied music, geometry, astronomy, geography, public speaking. Boys also participated in sports like wrestling, swimming, running, discus, and javelin. Girls stayed at home and learned to be wives and mothers. Now, I want to talk about these 2 things. Up here, do you ever wonder why you have to do this now, today? Why do you have to take 5 different subjects, learn a foreign language, participate in health, physical education, all these things? It's called a classical education. And we've been doing it for thousands of years, and it's this idea that if you do these books, you write these books, you do these activities, you do them in a certain order, then you become a perfect or, close to a perfect human being. When we say women stayed at home and learned to be wives and mothers, as a parent, I can tell you that's a big deal. They're telling stories, they're transmitting religion, they're transmitting culture. It's a big deal. Staying at home and being a mother is a big deal. It's teaching your children morals, responsibilities, all of these things, and it's pretty much nonstop. When we look at Athens, they had these philosophers, right? There were 3 of them, and you can look at it like grandfather, father, son, right? Socrates was a philosopher that taught people to search for truth. One of the most famous quotes was, "The life not being observed is the life not being lived." And Socrates was a very, very influential philosopher, so much that he influenced this guy called Plato. He was one of Socrates' students. And Plato established a school called the Academy. He taught philosophy, science, math, and he wrote a book called The Republic, which describes the perfect form of government. You'll read this in high school. And then we have Aristotle, who was a student of Plato. Again, grandfather, father, son. He opened a school called Lyceum, and he wrote hundreds of essays on government and science. He actually became the teacher of Alexander the Great, who we're going to learn about later this week. They even had a Sophocles and Adromedes, Astronophanes. I have a hard time saying these. But they wrote the dramas, they wrote the tragedies. They also had poets, right? Homer wrote the Iliad and the Odyssey. This is all in Athens, right? Now, in Sparta, much, much, much different than Athens. Okay, let's kind of talk about the culture and the daily life and education and men and women for Sparta. Okay, the Spartans isolated themselves from the rest of Greece. They had the rugged mountains, the geography to keep them separated inland. All males were required to be soldiers, every single male. At the age of 7 till around the age of 13, all boys went to military training camps. They were encouraged to fight one another. They were trained. Not everyone survived either. You can ask Mr. O'Neill questions about this, but it was a very, very serious thing. It was like at the age of 11 or 12, they were kicked out of the city and they were not allowed back in until they went and hunted and killed a wolf. It's a very, very harsh way of living. Women had equal rights to those of men in Sparta. This is something we have not seen in culture yet. In Egypt, we had pharaohs that were women, but their family got them in. And like Hatshepsut did a lot of great things, but the majority of pharaohs were men. In Sparta, women trained. They were feared more so than women from any other city-state. Even against men, they would fight men and win. They went through military training because they were expected to protect Sparta in case it was attacked. Spartan citizens were not allowed to participate in agriculture. They had enslaved people called helots that did that for them. So wait, I'm going to let you kind of go back and learn and read some of this on your own as you decide. So let's go to our copy and let's look here. So I'm going to have to say that like the rights of women is Sparta, right? And the reason why is, and I have to use information from the reading, right? Women had equal rights as men and also trained with weapons. Oh, got to get my spelling correct. Trained with weapons to defend, right? So let's say culture. So look, I really like the philosophers. So I'm going to have to say Athens won culture. So they had so much to do in Athens. They had drama, they had philosophy, and other things to entertain people. So what I'm looking for is, did I meet the requirements here? Each response must reference 2 pieces of information from the notes and talk about both sides. So wait a second. Did I talk about both sides? No, I didn't. So I need to go back. In Athens, only men served in the military, and women did not have as many rights as men. Okay, let's make sure I compared it up here. In Sparta, all they did was focus on military training and building a large army. And of course, you are going to want to spell these things right. And again, all of this, the details are in the slideshow. This is less of a scavenger hunt, less of a challenge than the last two activities, but I just wanted y'all to see the comparing and the contrasting of Athens and Sparta for these different categories. So for the final verdict, after the 5 rounds, you're going to count how many Athens, how many Spartas, and you're going to decide who won, and you're going to tell me why. All right, I'm going to end the screencast here. I know this is a little bit of a longer one, but I wanted to give you examples. I wanted to show you how to do it. And if you need anything, email Mr. O'Neill during your asynchronous time, during your synchronous time. Raise your hand, put it in the chat. Mr. O'Neill will be here the whole time. Bye-bye. Love you. Have a great day.